Diesel vehicles produce 1,000 times more particulate matter than what petrol-driven vehicles do. We easily have about 100 million people in India who have chronic lung disease, probably the second leading cause of suffering and death. A long-term exposure to air pollution without you even giving recognition for it is going to damage the society massively.
This is the podcast that I'm most excited about because it brings together all the themes that are relevant today, themes about future of the planet, future of technology, and future of environment. So it's really AI, AQI, and hopefully the promised land of AGI. We have a very interesting guest today, Dr. Salvi, who's somebody that I have been sort of really impressed by the knowledge that he holds. He's a medical doctor, but a scientist, which is a very rare combination, and also somebody who's worked at the forefront of effects of environment on health. And that's really what we want to bring together in today's episode, which is about how does health and environment connect together? Does development always come at the cost of environment and hence cost of health? And we will go through this. I would request Dr. Salvi to introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I am Dr. Sandeep Salvi. I am a physician scientist based in the city of Pune in India. I have trained as a medical doctor and then specialized as a pulmonologist or a lung specialist. And then I did a PhD in the UK. And then since then, I have been spending more time in academic research, less of clinical work, but this is my passion. So I would like to call myself as a physician scientist.
Wonderful. So let's start with that, Dr. Salvi. I think what will be interesting is if you can just maybe trace back some of the work that you did, maybe early on while in UK, that may have shaped your whole idea about how health, environment kind of intersect.
So I trained as a pulmonologist, specialist in lung medicine. And therefore, I was always interested in diseases that affect the lung. I knew that air pollution has an impact on lung, causes lung diseases, but I did not know much, anything more than that. I was inquisitive as to understand what is the effect of air pollution on health and particularly on the lungs. So I had an opportunity to go to UK at the University of Southampton, and I was part of an air pollution research team. It was a big team of physician scientists like me who were trying to understand the effect of air pollution on health. I was slotted into the vertical of health effects of diesel exhaust. And the reason for that was diesel vehicles were earlier promoted as green fuel because they were emitting less amount of carbon dioxide compared to the petrol vehicles. And because global warming was a big issue at that point of time, I'm talking about early 1990s, and because diesel vehicles emitted less amount of CO2, they were promoted as greener fuel than petrol-driven vehicles. And therefore, the government was encouraging the use of more and more of diesel vehicles. When I started my research, I realized that it's not CO2, it's not reduced CO2 that is more important, but it is the increased amount of particulate matter pollution that is emitted from diesel vehicles than petrol-driven vehicles. And just to give you a simple comparison, diesel vehicles produce 1,000 times more particulate matter pollution than what petrol-driven vehicles do. So my research was to understand what are the health effects of diesel exhaust emission on lung health. This study was done in collaboration with a university in Sweden called University of Umeå. And they had built a very nice diesel exposure chamber. So Sweden has those big Volvo trucks.
Right.
So one of those Volvo trucks was used, and the emission that comes from a Volvo truck engine was fed into a chamber like this,
right,
like how this room is.
Yeah.
90% of it was diluted. So the levels of PM 2.5, PM10 that was released into the exposure chamber was something that we would normally experience on busy streets like Delhi, Pune, Kolkata.
Right.
Realistic levels that we are exposed to. So healthy human subjects or volunteers, they sat in that exposure chamber for an hour. 15 minutes they sat and rested, and 15 minutes they were riding a bicycle, a static bicycle, to simulate as if somebody is walking on the streets.
Yeah.
1 hour after exposure, they were removed from the chamber, and then 6 hours later, we did something very interesting. We took them to the hospital. We put a tube into their lungs called as a bronchoscope, and then we collected biopsies of the lung.
Okay.
Tiny, tiny biopsies of the lung. This was collected 6 hours later. The same subjects were then invited after 2 weeks to come to the same exposure chamber, and this time they were exposed to clean air.
Right.
And the same thing was done. 1 hour exposure to clean air, bronchoscopy performed 6 hours later in the hospital, and all those bronchial biopsies that we took from them, I took it along with me to the UK in Southampton. And we had a fantastic molecular biology lab. So we dissected those tissues at the cellular level and molecular level.
Right.
To see what changes have occurred. And what I found was something very, very interesting and very important. 1 hour of exposure to diesel exhaust at levels that we would normally encounter on a daily life produced a very strong cellular and mediator inflammatory response.
Right.
That we would otherwise see in something like acute bronchitis.
Wow.
So, silent exposure, these healthy subjects had no symptoms at all. When they sat in the chamber with exposure to diesel exhaust, no cough, no shortness of breath, no problem at all. But there was a silent inflammation that was happening inside their lungs. That was probably the first human exposure study that showed for the first time the extent of harm that it causes to the lung.
Correct.
So this study was presented at international conferences, got published in top quality journals, and it changed a lot of things. So the diesel fuel that was earlier promoted as greener fuel, because of the work that we did, diesel then started becoming a bigger problem rather than a solution. And it's not this low CO2, but it's a very high PM10 pollution that it produces. This then got translated into government policy, and just because of the health impacts that we showed, diesel vehicles the sales were brought down. From 50 to 60% earlier, they came down to 10 to 15%. And we believe that this was a significant impact in the overall environment. Because the particulate matter pollution, one of the major sources is motor vehicles. And among motor vehicles, it's diesel vehicles.
Right.
So reducing that by reducing the number of motor vehicles, I think had a big impact on the overall health of people living in the UK. This then got spread to the Europe, got spread to United States, and now it's all over the
global.
world. So now it's global. So that was the first time where particulate matter pollution was shown to be harmful for the human lung.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm so happy that I'm talking to somebody who's made a big change in the way things are looked at and change for the better. But I think we clearly need another such change now. So I want to go back to the part about the science of it, as well as the part about we do need transportation because of development, etc., etc. But before going there, let's step into the area which is your core physician scientist area, as to what does that exposure to CO2, to particulate matter, and other such environmental pollutants really mean in terms of individual health, as well as community health, as well as, let's say, national health. Yeah. If you can talk about some numbers in terms of, what does it mean in terms of the impact on life, impact on deaths, and so on and so forth.
Sure. So we humans rely a lot on the oxygen that is present in the air.
Right.
That's the source of life.
Correct.
On a daily basis, the human body requires 1,000 liters of pure oxygen for it to keep itself alive and to keep itself healthy. In order to obtain that 1,000 liters of oxygen, which is present in the environment, one has to breathe 10,000 liters of air. What it means is we have to breathe a huge amount of air,
right,
which is present in the environment, to extract the oxygen that gives us life.
Correct.
90% of the energy that the human body generates comes from the oxygen that we breathe. Only 10% comes from the food that we eat and the water that we drink.
Right. And so we focus so much more on the food and so much less on the air or the oxygen.
So it's very interesting,
right,
because oxygen is available for us for free.
Right.
We have no value for it.
Right.
I think that's the problem.
Right.
When you have no value for it, you take it for granted.
Correct. Correct.
So one needs to breathe 10,000 liters of air.
Right.
And if this air contains a lot of these different varieties of pollutants, you are inhaling a huge amount of them on a daily basis. Because 10,000 liters of air is a huge volume of air.
Right. Absolutely.
And the pollutants that enter along with it are the ones that cause more damage. These pollutants are essentially classified into two components: particulate matter and gaseous pollutants. Both are bad. But among all the various pollutants that have been identified, the particulate matter pollutants are the one that cause the biggest harm.
Right.
So the emphasis then is towards particulate matter pollution. The size of this particulate matter is important because only particles which are less than 10 microns in their diameter are able to enter into the lung. Particles which are bigger than this, they get trapped in the nose.
Right.
So they don't enter the respiratory tract. So from a health effect, particles which are less than 10 microns are the ones that we are very worried about. So these pollutants, once they enter into the lung, they not only cause damage to the lung structure. So the lung is a very sensitive organ. Because it has to soak in the oxygen that is present in the air. The surface area that the lung has is about 100 square meters.
Wow.
So there's a huge surface area on which the 10,000 liters of air gets deposited.
Right.
And then because of that, there's a huge deposition of pollutants into the lung.
Right.
And then there is local damage that happens.
Correct.
Not only that, but particles which are even smaller than 2.5 microns, less than 1 micron, they enter into the circulation, the blood circulation.
Right.
And from the blood circulation,
everywhere.
They get transported to all the other organs where they have the potential to cause harm. So these pollutants that you inhale go to the brain, go to the heart, go to the kidney, go to the muscles, go to the bone, and they cause harm over there. Earlier research showed that air pollution causes harm to the lung. It was logical because that's the first organ.
First level.
That gets exposed to the air pollutants. And there's a lot of research.
Right. First order issues. Yeah.
So the risk of developing asthma, the risk of developing chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, the risk of developing lung cancers, the risk of developing pneumonias are all much more greater once you're exposed to air pollutants. There's a lot of toxic damage that also happens in the lung. But later research showed that, my God, there's an increased risk of developing a heart attack.
Right.
If you're exposed to polluted air. There's a very old study published in a very popular journal called New England Journal of Medicine. There, it was shown that people above the age of 60, when they spend 1 hour in the traffic, inhaling all those pollutants that are emitted from motor vehicles, the risk of them developing a heart attack is greater than they having higher blood cholesterol levels.
Wow.
So, we talk about cholesterol as a risk factor for heart attacks.
Absolutely.
And when we say, oh, your cholesterol level is so high, bring it down, otherwise you'll get a heart attack.
Right.
This 1 hour of exposure causes a greater risk than high levels of blood cholesterol.
So 1 hour of exposure is equal to the cholesterol that you're trying to manage.
Which is high levels of cholesterol.
You're trying to manage cholesterol, but you're not trying to manage the 1 hour. Actually, it's not 1 hour.
Absolutely,
it's probably 10 hours every day of living life in a typical city.
Yeah, there were some other very interesting studies. One study done in Mexico.
Right.
Where these young boys died for whatever reasons. And autopsies were performed. And in the brain of these children, who were about 10, 12 years old, there were particulate matter deposits in the brain that was found. So it reaches the brain, causes
less than
harm,
1 micron, basically.
Causes harm to the brain. We talked about the heart, blood vessels get affected. So you get hypertension related to that. You get stroke related to air pollution. Kidneys get damaged. So air pollution does not affect only your lungs. It affects your whole body.
Right.
And I think it's important for all of us to appreciate that.
What does it mean in terms of the numbers? Like, do you have a sense of the annual, let's say, causes which cause the maximum number of deaths and which are related to air pollution versus otherwise?
So air pollution in India causes more suffering and death then that is caused by tobacco smoking or lack of exercise or high blood sugar levels.
Right.
So, we in India say,
Yeah.
bring your sugar levels down, do regular
Yeah, the
exercise.
diabetes, the hypertension
Yeah.
are the
So
common
air
enemies.
pollution causes more deaths.
Air pollution is not the common enemy.
So air pollution causes more deaths than any of these combined together.
Right.
If you look at the burden of chronic respiratory diseases in India, to which air pollution is a major contributor, we easily have about 100 million people in India who have chronic lung disease, be it asthma, be it
Right.
COPD, be it there are so many other chronic lung diseases that are caused because of exposure to air pollution. So 100 million because of air pollution, and a very large number also for heart attacks, for strokes, for dementia, Alzheimer's is also related to air pollution. So the overall burden, I mean, so I was part of the initiative called as the Global Burden of Disease, and I was the chair for the chronic respiratory disease section for India.
Yeah, I should also mention that you are the top respiratory scientist as per Stanford for India.
So in
right?
the field of respiratory medicine, I'm
Yeah.
ranked number 1 in India.
Right. Yeah.
And-
Your word carries a lot of weight.
No, so the burden of air pollution-induced health damage in India is massive. It is massive. It's probably the second leading cause of suffering and death in India. Very little, sadly, is done for that. And I think it's time for us to start looking at it from a very serious perspective, because a long-term exposure to air pollution without you even giving recognition for it is going to damage the society massively.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe what's happening over last maybe few decades is that things which were like you said, maybe asthma and those were the more known things, maybe they have got under control. But then the second order things which are maybe the hypertension, the diabetes or other things are now more and more talked about, but they are actually second order of the same thing.
Yeah.
And maybe then the third order is getting talked about more and more now, which is like things like dementia, Alzheimer's, which I haven't heard anybody connecting that to the same thing that is ultimately causing us to breathe and to be able to live and so on and so forth. Is it just that nobody is thinking hard about how our body works at a very micro, nano scale? And we talk about all these things in the science and tech world, right? When you talk about, let's say, a nanotechnology or a chip factory, right? A fabrication like a TSMC or like a NVIDIA and so on and so forth. Like any of these things, when they have to do things at super high accuracy levels, they have a concept called clean room, right? And even in biology also, there is a concept of clean room. The reason why that exists is because you don't want anything which can come, which can upset the very, very
delicate
minute,
homeostasis.
Homeostasis. I was actually looking for the right word, right? Homeostasis, right? And in some sense, our body does have the same precision that probably is there in, let's say, a 2 nanometer chip, right? I mean, we are talking about these being micron level particles which are going inside our blood and all parts of the body, cells and brain. And if they are actually going to clog so-called arteries, since we understand the circulation much better, it causes maybe a set of issues around in the blood vessel in terms of circulation, and that causes heart attack. But that's just one of the things. There are so many other things that are...
Let me give you 2 examples.
Right.
A study done in New York where randomly selected 10 newborn babies. They were just born. So when a baby is born, you cut the umbilical cord.
Correct.
You disconnect the blood circulation from the mother. They collected the blood from the umbilical cord and sent it to the laboratory to look for presence of circulating air pollutants. And do you know how many pollutants they identified? 287 different varieties of pollutants were identified in the umbilical cord blood.
Right.
Now, what this means is the pollutants that the mother inhales when she's pregnant, they enter into the fetal circulation.
Right.
And the baby starts getting exposed to pollutants
even before
birth.
Wow.
And that's where it starts. I think it's important for us to understand that. The second example is, I have a very close friend called Dr. Arvind Kumar. He's now at the Medanta Hospital in Delhi. He's a thoracic surgeon, and while operating on the lungs of people, he observed something very shocking for him. The normal color of the lung is pink,
Right.
light pink.
Right.
But what he could see was the
Right.
lungs of these people living in Delhi were all black. So he
Right.
saw these black lungs,
Right.
and it shook him to the core. These were young people
Right.
who developed lung cancer without they having ever
Any
smoked a single cigarette.
exposure to so-called the
Tobacco
standard,
smoke, no
right.
tobacco smoke. So he was seeing young smokers, and when he was operating on them, he was seeing black-colored lungs. Now, as I said, it shook him to the core,
Right.
and he said, "This is
Why
what
is this happening?
this is what the color of the lungs in people living in Delhi are."
Yeah, we talk about being in the pink of health. I didn't connect
Yeah.
that to actually the color of
So
the.
that's the color of the lung.
That's the color of the. I didn't
Yeah.
connect that actually. Yeah, and
Yeah.
most people don't have the pink of health because they don't
Yes.
have the pink.
Yeah, because
Lung.
we cannot see the lungs.
Yes.
We cannot visualize that.
Right.
We don't understand what is happening inside.
Interesting.
I think that's a problem.
Interesting.
So these are the two examples that highlight the scale of the problem, and it's important for us to wake up.
And what is the number that you will kind of maybe talk about? Let's say there are these causes like hypertension. How many deaths, let's say in India or in the world, are ascribed
so-
to that?
so-
How many to other causes?
So let me give you an example of.
I think nothing shakes anybody as much as death.
Yeah.
I think so.
So-
While it's morbid, I do want to make sure that everybody realizes that it's not some theoretical thing that affects to somebody else. It's affecting each of us ultimately. Yeah.
More than 2 million deaths in India every year are
Right.
caused by air pollution related,
Right.
be it the lungs, be it the heart, be it the circulatory system. I think those numbers are massive.
And how much is that as a proportion of total? Any sense?
It's probably the leading cause of death and suffering in our country.
Right.
Number one, air pollution is number one, but it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. That's the
Right.
problem. I have an interest in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. This is a disease where the lung is damaged because of what you breathe. And when this disease was first discovered, or when it was first described, it was described in the Western world. And there, the leading cause of COPD was tobacco smoking,
Right.
to such an extent that COPD was equated to smoker's lung. And we all lived with that understanding and that belief. About 20 years ago, we did a study in India to look at what are the risk factors for COPD. And we were surprised to find that 70% of COPD in India is not related to tobacco smoking.
Right.
It's related to the pollutants that you inhale inside your lungs, be it outdoor air pollution or be
Right.
it indoor air pollution, both.
Right.
70% of COPD in India is not related to tobacco smoking. So we published that in the Lancet. It shook the world literally. And now the whole understanding of COPD has changed from a global perspective. So the noise that it made about smoking as the main risk factor for COPD,
Right.
now it's air pollution
Right.
as the main risk factor for COPD, not tobacco smoking.
Correct.
I'm not devaluing
Yeah.
the importance of tobacco smoking,
Of course.
but air pollution is a bigger problem for COPD than tobacco
Right.
smoke.
Right. That sounds so similar to the whole fatty liver thing, right?
Yeah.
Which was earlier ascribed only to alcohol, for example, and
Yeah.
now there is a separate category because
Yeah.
it is actually a lot more caused by lifestyle and
Yeah.
other things. And
Even
it's
in
now
those-
NAFLD, non-alcoholic
Non-alcoholic
fatty
liver
liver disease.
Non-alcoholic liver cirrhosis, non-alcoholic liver disease
Right.
is now all well recognized.
Right. So,
So there's a
again,
shift in a lot of our understanding now.
Correct. And so in a way, I think we probably mischaracterized things for whatever reason, whether it was diesel as green fuel or whether it was smoking as the only reason for lung cancer and not everything else that we do much more than smoking, or alcohol being the only reason for liver damage and other things, whereas many other things that we do are causing far larger damage. So how do you think is and this is at an individual level, and then there is a planetary level, right?
Yes.
I mean, so at a planetary level, we have issues related to global warming, where CO2 levels clearly, it's kind of connecting it to the temperature actually, rather than the purely the environment composition. It's more really ultimate result on the temperature. We are at close to 1.5 degrees, which is 1.35 right now, which is at a point where at 1.5 it will be almost impossible to reverse the slide towards 2. And the slide towards 2 will make it almost impossible for life to sustain on this planet. So there is that aspect which is well understood, and there is a huge amount of research that goes on and huge amount of corrective actions at a planetary scale that are happening in different parts of the world at different times. Europe is at a major path ahead on that, and parts of India, we've done a lot of
We're still waking up. We're just waking up to it.
Yeah, but I think we are implementing fast in terms of renewable energy source, some amount of transportation which is less fossil fuel driven, and bunch of other initiatives for especially energy and transportation, which seem to at least seem to be in the right direction. But we don't see that kind of coalition come together for health for some strange reason, right? I mean, and I'm assuming that for every individual, their own health is ultimately as much or more important than the planetary health, though both are interconnected. So how does that happen, or why does that happen?
So let me show you two viewpoints. One is a bird's eye viewpoint,
right,
and one is a microscopic viewpoint.
Right.
So if you look at air pollution from the bird's eye viewpoint, planetary health, the planet is suffering because of the pollutants that we are generating. So the planet is responding to it in terms of global warming, in terms of the monsoons are
all kinds of disturbances in weather.
Paris yesterday, the temperature was 43 or 45 degrees.
Yeah, I know.
I just can't imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
think most of Europe is suddenly realizing that there is something called a fan which is required, or an AC that is required, because they never needed it, and now practically right now in London, in Paris, and other places, people are having, like, summer is the best time, but it's also the time where things are really difficult because the houses are not designed for letting air in.
Absolutely.
There is no AC, there is no fan. Not that AC anyway improves anything, because actually you're just taking away heat from one side and putting it on the other side. But whatever. So
that's from the bird's eye viewpoint, right? Looking at the planet as a whole. When you zoom down to a country level, say for example, you look at India, what is happening? What is India doing for all this? The space of air pollution related harmful effects on the health, who should take the responsibility for it?
Right.
From a ministerial point of view. Is it the Ministry of Environment and Forests? Is it the Ministry of Health? Is it the Ministry of Petroleum? Is it the Ministry of Sustainable Development?
What, Ministry of Water?
Ministry of Water,
because that's also part of the environment. Ultimately, Ministry of.
So who should take responsibility for this?
Ministry of Power,
Ministry
of Finance, ultimately, because that decides.
So because nobody has been taking responsibility for this, I think this has remained a neglected area.
Right.
From a policy decision point of view. Because there's no strong leadership from a ministry that says.
There's nothing which aggregates all inputs to.
So what is really needed is for all these stakeholders to come together. Somebody will have to take a lead, but include all the relevant stakeholders and then take necessary policy decisions. So we did this many years ago. The National Clean Air Program was initiated by the Ministry of Health, but the Ministry of Health took all these relevant stakeholders.
Right.
They brought them all together and said, we all have to work together, because health is a very important aspect of our survival. So the Ministry of Health took a lead role. We need more of such activities.
When was this, and where is it right now?
This is about 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
2015, the National Clean Air Program report was released.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So that's just a little over 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
So there has been some initiative, but it needs to be sustainable.
Right.
And we need to constantly advocate for doing something about it.
And was it just qualitative research or quantitative outputs, and
both
execution plan, including industry, including civil society?
There was a review of what is the current state, what are the health effects related to environment, what are the pollution levels in our country, what are the sources of these pollutants, and after seeing all the bigger picture, then there was a brainstorming session that took place to say, now what do we do? What are the solutions?
Right.
So it was a very well thought out initiative. Just that it needed more
Resolve, push,
more
whatever.
resolve,
Yeah.
more consistency over the years. I
Right.
think that's so. That's we zoomed into a national level.
Correct.
If you zoom into a city level, I think the responsibility of the quality of air that we breathe should lie with the
Local government.
The local
yeah,
government.
Absolutely. Because
The local government.
I'm sitting in Pune.
Yeah.
How can somebody sitting in
Absolutely.
whatever, Lucknow or
So identify what the
Trivandrum can manage
Yeah.
the place here? The local
So
factors
identify
matter.
what are the levels of pollutants,
Right.
what are the sources,
Correct.
and then do something at a local level.
Correct.
I'll give you a few examples. Burning of crop residues, burning of wood during the winter season, the amount of pollution that it produces.
Yeah, the Delhi issue, basically. Yeah.
So Delhi is at a much bigger scale. But here, just to keep yourself warm,
Right.
you burn tires and you burn wood and you burn dried leaves.
Right.
That produces massive amounts of pollution. That we should be, as a city, we should take
Yeah,
responsibility.
it should be easily preventable.
Yeah. Look at the sources from motor vehicles.
Right.
Public transport has to get better.
Yeah. It's becoming electric fast.
We have a metro
thankfully.
now. We have a metro, but we need lots of metros.
Right.
Because if you see the number of vehicles in Pune, there's no place to drive.
Yeah.
Every day, 1,000 new vehicles are registered in the city of Pune.
Right.
1,000 every day. So just look at the cumulative.
It's one of the largest industries, right? Transportation is.
Yeah. So look at the whole picture and draw solutions for your own self. And for that, I think the local government has to take responsibility. Has to be very passionate about wanting to do something.
Right. Interesting.
When you zoom in at the individual level,
Yeah.
a person spends 70%, 80% of his time indoors. Is indoor a source of air pollution? And the answer is yes. In fact, in homes, we produce more pollution than what comes from outside.
Okay.
And I've given this example many times. Burning one mosquito coil in the night. When you keep the doors and the windows closed to get rid of mosquitoes,
Right.
it produces as much amount of pollution that is equivalent to smoking 100 cigarettes.
Oh my God.
One mosquito coil is equal to 100 cigarettes.
Because of the composition?
The composition of the smoke. The composition of the smoke that comes from the...
So particulate matter.
It's all particulate matter.
Understood.
It's all PM 2.5.
Oh, so it's
Small
a PM 2.5 generator.
Yes, major source. Major source.
Yeah, it's actually for mosquitoes, but maybe it's actually going in
Bad
here.
for the body.
Yeah.
One dhoop agarbatti is only about, it's 4 inches.
Right.
Burns only for 20 minutes. It produces as much amount of PM 2.5 pollution that is equivalent to smoking 500 cigarettes.
Oh my God.
You know that one dhoop agarbatti is worse than the mosquito coil.
Right. Right.
Now we are all generating this inside our own homes.
Right.
And then you have floor cleaners, you have deodorants, you have perfumes.
Correct. All CFC generating.
All CFC generating.
Yeah.
So, you have curtains, you have new upholstery. They're all releasing a lot of pollutants.
Right.
So we live in a house that is generating a huge amount of indoor air pollution.
Right. Right.
I think the realization is important. We need to know. I mean,
Yeah.
these are sources
Yeah,
now.
most
I should
people
do
just
something.
don't
I should
understand
avoid
this.
this.
Yeah.
So at an individual level, what can I do?
Right.
One is the realization. There is something in management called as an accountability ladder. So right at the bottom is, I did not know anything about this.
Yeah.
I know something, but I'm not responsible for it.
Correct.
Somebody
Everybody
else
is kicking
responsible.
the can upstairs.
So you on the accountability ladder, we are all at the bottom. We don't want to take responsibility for it.
Correct.
It's only when we start understanding, yes, I have understood the importance of it, I will do something about it now.
Right.
I think that's the first step. Awareness and the desire to bring about a change at an individual level.
Correct.
Second is, I need to protect myself. I know the environment is polluted whenever I go outside, whenever I sit inside my house. So wearing masks probably is going to be the new normal tomorrow. Because when you go outside, there is so much of pollution.
Right.
And we talked about 1 hour of exposure can have such a harmful
It's a continuous thing, yeah.
So as soon as you step out, you wear a mask. At least the exposures will come down dramatically.
Right.
So that will need to be a lifestyle change. It will have to be a behavioral change.
Right. Right.
Then to improve the resilience of my lung or my body to fight against the pollutants, you need something called as antioxidants.
Correct.
Because a lot of the damage caused by air pollutants is because of oxidative stress.
Oh, correct. Not And practically the killer for everything, right?
Yes.
Because it's building that stress in which manifests into any other forms.
And the human body has a defense of antioxidants.
Correct.
The only problem is the levels of these antioxidants get depleted very fast
Right.
when you're exposed to air pollution.
Right.
So you need to keep on replenishing it.
Right.
That only happens through good diet.
Diet, yeah. That's where food comes in. And
so that's where quality of food comes.
Yeah.
Green leafy vegetables, fresh. You need to eat vegetables every day. And at least 2 different types of fruits.
Right.
These would be enough to replenish your antioxidant levels in the body.
Right.
So your diet is a very important protective mechanism that you can upgrade.
Correct.
Exercise.
Yeah.
Exercise is so very important. Everybody talks about it, but exercise is always underrated as an important intervention to protect your body from
Correct.
the harmful effects of air pollution. So exercise keeps your body fit and well.
Correct.
Hydration. This is something that I've understood more recently.
Right.
The lungs, they need a lot of water for it to function properly. In the winter season, if you do, you see the water vapor come up.
Correct.
That's because a lot of water is sprayed into the lung when you're breathing the air to increase the humidity. Dry lungs is an irritant.
Right.
Dry air is an irritant. So the humidification is done by the nose and the throat. But if you are dehydrated or partly dehydrated, the airways in the lung become drier.
Right.
And this increases their vulnerability to increase the harm caused by air pollution.
Correct.
So fluid intake, hydration status is a very important defense mechanism.
Right.
That we need to upgrade when you're exposed to air pollutants. Small things, but at least you can increase your resilience to the harm that it can cause.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting actually, because all this kind of connects back to some of the concepts that we had in our knowledge of the world, where air, water, the 5 elements come together to make life in some sense.
Yeah.
And the fact that that is not just life at individual level, but it is also the life at the planetary level.
Absolutely,
right? So it has to all come together, and Ayurveda, which is effectively the science of life or health rather than ill health, right? It's really all about homeostasis, where everything just happens to be in perfect coordination, and we currently are missing that coordination.
Yeah, there's a very interesting book published many years ago called as The Living Planet.
Right.
Our planet Earth is actually a
there is this whole theory called Gaia theory.
The Gaia theory.
The Greek Gaia and the
so
Indian
it's a living
equivalent.
organism. We are living on the surface of a living organism.
Yeah.
And the living organism is going to get affected because it wants to maintain homeostasis.
Right.
But if there is excess of whatever we produce, that is going to affect the planetary health.
Yeah, I think there is understanding of that, but whether it gets translated into the actions where, obviously...
You need a political will for it.
You need a mix of political will, the right science, the right industry partners. Ultimately, the development is also important for countries especially like India, which still have a lot of poverty and so on and so forth. So managing all these, it's almost like a multi-dimensional problem, but that's what the complexity of the organism is, right? Internally as well as at the planetary level. So let me just maybe bring this to then close, because I think this can probably go on for a very, very long time, because I know that we have a lot of shared interests, and maybe we can do another podcast down the line. But let me just kind of bring one final point, which kind of trying to paint interesting picture of the future, because I think it's all about ultimately visualizing how you want the future to be better than today, rather than, obviously we need a lot of corrective and preventive actions, but if we can imagine a better future. So one of the things that I kind of traveled to UK a few times nowadays, and the last time I was there in a park which is in the middle of the London city. Okay. Right? And there
St. James Park?
Yeah, there are like 4 or 5 parks, right? I forgot the name of this park. It's close to this Imperial College and so on. It's a beautiful park. It's a big park right in the middle of the city, one of the most thriving cities with some, very large population. It has a river or a stream, multiple of them, passing through in the middle of the park, in the middle of the city. And that stream, you can see the bottom of, so it's clear water. The air is clean. The AQI is in single digits, not like the double or triple or 4 times digits that we kind of hear of in India. But this was a place, funnily, I think 50, no, not 50, maybe 75 years back, the same city of London apparently had something called acid rain or something called, people couldn't see the sky because it was filled with all kinds of things.
Coal smoke.
Coal smoke, okay, yeah.
They used to burn a lot of coal to keep their houses warm.
Right. So, so it just gives me some sort of a hope that things can change, and they will change if it's just a question of bringing all the right elements together. I mean, today's challenges are obviously different. There is obviously a huge AI and technology boom, which is also in a way required. It's relevant, and in my view, the final point is, apart from this hope that things can come together, it's also the fact that these are so multi-dimensional problems that it's hard to make sense of it, because you do one thing and something else goes for a toss, right? You say that diesel is better than petrol because the CO2 emission was less, but you have ended up increasing the particulate matter, and there could be 10 other parameters or 100 parameters or maybe million parameters, right?
Correct. Yeah.
The reality is infinite in some sense. But now we have tools which can make sense of that complexity in the form of AI, and especially the really advanced AI, not the chat and so on, which can actually help us bring this whole thing back, because we ourselves cannot bring it back maybe anymore, because it's like a genie out of the bottle. Development has to happen, but it has to happen in a way that is more conscious and the right way. What do you think about this?
Absolutely. So the interlink between health, environment, and so many other factors.
Right.
I think we do not have the capability of understanding.
Right.
The linkages between so many of these variables.
Right.
So many as you very rightly said, there could be a million variables.
Absolutely.
Artificial intelligence will have the potential.
Right. If you use the right way, obviously.
If you use it the right way, will have the potential to tell us that in a situation like this, I think the best solution would be
which optimizes not 5, maybe 100 parameters. Like 5 parameters, even maybe my brain can process and come up with something. But if it becomes 10, 20, I mean, I can hardly visualize 3 dimensions. I can't visualize the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 100th. Right.
So let me add to the complexity that we currently face. Today we are talking only about particulate matter, PM10, PM2.5.
Right. And CO2, of course.
And CO2.
Yeah.
PM2.5 is considered as one generic pollutant.
Right.
But the same amount of PM2.5 generated from burning of wood, from the combustion of a vehicle, or from other industrial sources, the quantum may be the same, but the variety of PM2.5 pollutants are different. That is also going to have different effects on health.
Correct.
So we have not reached that stage yet.
Yeah. And maybe we are failing because we are not in a sense absorbing that complexity.
Yes.
The means that we are using, policy levers or others, are still very not precise.
Yeah.
And if we can get precise, I'm sure we'll figure out the solutions, because even without AI and all these, London did become one of the best cities, at least environment speaking.
Yeah.
And so
there is a potential, there is hope.
Right.
And we should start thinking about it very seriously. I think that's the starting point.
Correct.
And I'm sure we can do a lot of benefit to ourselves, to the society, and to the planet at large.
Right. So here is to, I think, bringing this to close. The last podcast that we did, we talked about how measuring AQI should be as commonplace for an individual as measuring, let's say, blood pressure or sugar or whatever it is, that temperature that people look at. In that same mode, let's say that from this episode, if we can figure out a way to make our lungs pink, if we can figure a way out of doing that at individual level, it'll automatically set the planet right, actually.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me for this podcast.
Wonderful. Yeah. I mean, as always, very interesting conversations, and thank you so much for giving your time. And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening will have a lot of comments. I hope to see the comments, and we'll be happy to take it to Dr. Salvi for a more detailed discussion, collaboration, and it's really all about bringing all the relevant aspects of the society, of the pieces together, so that we can find the most optimal and possible solutions. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Salvi.
Thank you.